Good morning, everybody. I would really like to title this particular video, Playing with Power and the Sovereignty of God. Two different separate things that I'm going to try to bring together. Now, if I have a title called Playing with Power, the automatic thing that you might think about is this is some kind of strategy of how to get ahead and how to climb the social and power structure in order to reach better and better heights. That is actually exactly the opposite of what it is that I'm speaking about, because the strategy is completely different. When I'm talking about playing with power, I'm talking about the kind of power being played with in the same way that Jesus Christ actually played with power. And it really cost him his life. Jesus was a man who, Messiah, God, but a man who really truly helped every single person. He healed those who were sick. He helped those who were poor. He helped women who were completely beaten down and discarded in society. Jesus really truly loved everybody in such a way that it threatened the hierarchy. Those who are on top, who are elite, could have really seen what Jesus was doing as an incredible threat, because he was actually lifting up those people who were on the very bottom of the hierarchy into higher places. And that is always going to challenge the powers to be. So the worldly kind of way of playing with power is, who is the most powerful and how can I manipulate them into taking me with them? But this kind of playing with power is, who are the very least and how can I build them up to being all that they can be, and to being able to reach whatever it is that God has in store for them for the glory of God. And this, of course, is ironic, because while powerful people, you might assume, dislike it when people play up to their power and try to manipulate them for their place of position and power and show that kind of raw ambition. You would think that a lot of people in positions of power would be offended by that. But unless they're incredibly honorable, good people who are authentic, actually they prefer that. If they see somebody who is lifting up the sort of little guys, the common man, that is incredibly threatening and challenging to their own rule and to their own authority. And so they will find, even if that person is full of integrity and goodness like Jesus Christ, or even perfect, rather than promote that individual, they will feel challenged and will want to put that person down. So when you're talking about the kingdom of God and you're talking about ministry, the whole point of ministry is really to try to help people come to Jesus Christ. It's to help them to believe in Jesus. It's there to help them to grab a hold of the promises of God and their spiritual inheritance. It is also really, of course, any kind of mercy is about comforting and helping generally as well, which is probably one of the greatest aspects that we could share about who God is. But ministry is probably one of the most dangerous places anybody could ever be, not just because of the treachery and the darkness in our own hearts, but also the treachery and darkness in the hearts of those people that we help. Some of the Bible verses in the book of Matthew, or in several of the Gospels that speak about salt and hellfire, really, really gives a strong hint and suggestion that anytime you do anything for God in a kind of ministry, is going to be seasoned with salt. And that is also a connection with hellfire. So you almost get a taste of judgment or a taste of hellfire whenever you help somebody genuinely and truly. And so rather than speeding to the top of the power structure and the power hierarchy, usually what happens is you stay on the bottom for a very, very long time, depending on how corrupt the system is that you are actually ministering to. If the system is not so corrupt and the people on top are not particularly ambitious individuals, that they will spot a good person and they will promote them. But the more corruption that is in a system, the more fire a person is going to feel when they are genuinely ministering to others. So when you're playing with power through ministering to others, and you are lifting up the poor and the needy, when you are defending those widows and orphans, when you're doing these particular things, you're playing with power. People usually don't like it very much, and usually the very person themselves, because they are still ambitious people, whether they are poor, needy, or oppressed, will very often try to climb out of their situation on your own head, on the very head of the person who tried to help them and minister to them. And this is really the reason for burnout in ministry. There are so many people who get burned out. And of course, once again, it goes back to how corrupt is the system? How hard is it for righteousness to break through? And that will always be determined by how ministers are treated, or people who are ministering, depending on how you look at it. So this is something that is full of pain, and human beings have an aversion to pain. We don't like it. None of us do. I don't like it either. But in order to really truly continue on with ministry, in order to continue on with what's doing right, there, especially in a corrupt system, there is a tremendous need to being able to accept pain and to endure pain and to dominate pain and to dominate your own fear of pain. And I really believe that the only way that you can really dominate that particular fear, because it's so strong in mankind, I mean, we will do just about anything to avoid pain. You have to believe in the sovereignty of God. And people are offended with the idea that God could really be in control of our pain and allow us to have pain, and how God can deal with watching humanity's pain. I have no idea, because that must be a very difficult part of being God. But still, you have to, if you are going to have the courage that it takes in order to face giants, in order to be really militant in ministry, in order to play with power appropriately, in order to lift up those people who are poor and oppressed, you have to know that God is sovereign, that He is in control, and you have to be willing to submit to whatever consequence or hellfire that God doles out to you. And any minister who really goes through a lot of pain can really, I mean, this is a struggle. Even if in your head you know that there is a reason for the pain you're going through, even if you can on some level trust, there comes a amount of pain that is incredibly difficult to endure and to really find a good answer for. Sometimes it just hurts so bad. And I refer to Jesus on the cross, when even He, who is the Son of God and knew exactly what He was doing and why He was doing it for, who He was doing it for, and that it was to save the entire world and humanity, and that He loves humanity, His pain got so bad that He was like, why? His own brain couldn't comprehend the pain that He was facing. So this question and this being broken is part of ministry, and part of being the minister that really understands pain, because there's people all over the world who have gone through so much pain. They've broken and they couldn't find an answer for why. And sometimes God just asks us to trust Him, but sometimes even if you know exactly why, it doesn't make any sense, because pain is very difficult. So a true belief of the sovereignty of God is absolutely vital. Otherwise, It won't take very long in ministry or in helping people before you give up and you get wiped out. Because as I said, while manipulating and playing up to power, where you are telling them what they want to hear and sort of tickling their toes and doing everything that they would want you to and all that stuff, because you're hoping that they do promote you. Doing the right thing by helping others will actually slow your ascent down. You will not reach very high, very strong heights very quickly. So, and that goes right back to what I mean about sonship as well, because if the people around you are unworthy of your sonship, then God will slow it down, and He will also allow those people who are not worthy for that particular place to receive their reward that has nothing to do with you as that son, and He will find a new person to replace that particular individual. So God is dealing with hierarchy in this particular way, and He's dealing with all the different factors, and sometimes that takes a very long time. And that's one of the reasons why in the Psalms we can really read that we should not ever envy the righteous or the wicked, because the wicked seem to rise to heights very, very, very quickly. And we can think, well, that person was wicked and now they're blessed, and well, I'm doing what's right and I'm ministering and I'm helping others, and I'm on the very bottom. And so there's a tendency to feel envious. But the thing is that is a very short burst that God gives to them, because it's the goodness of God that leads to repentance. But it is still an ultimate cash out to them when they really could have received a place in heaven with the son that they cashed out with by kicking them down. So if you have a wicked person who is trying to climb by oppressing those underneath him, you are basically cashing out on their heaven. In the same way, you could also see the rich man and Lazarus. Lazarus really, really, truly came to his house on the very night that he died, probably because he was giving the rich man one more opportunity to show some kind of goodness towards him, some kind of mercy, some kind of compassion, so that Lazarus could take him to heaven with him. But the rich man apparently didn't really bother too much to show mercy or kindness, and was living sumptuously and gloriously, and he died and he went to hell, and Lazarus died and went to heaven. So you could say that Lazarus was the son, and the rich man was the wicked man who somehow reached great heights through wickedness, and he ended up cashing out his place in heaven for just a little bit more. Or even just the fact that maybe there was some part of the rich man that enjoyed seeing somebody like Lazarus underneath his feet. So, there's a lot here that really could be examined and looked at over humanity's desire for hierarchy. So that is really all I want to say in this particular video, but I'm probably going to continue it on with my next video.